You know, people think of men liking the bits where everybody gets beaten up, but, you know, I mean, my sister loves that sort of thing, you know.
It's funny. It's good entertainment. An excuse not to do your homework.
Successful television programs, including Minder, and certainly successful television entertainments, tend to unite all sorts of disparate tastes and interests in a way that's unique to television. The most successful program you find as popular in the stockbroker belts of Surrey as it is in the streets of Manchester or the housing estates of Glasgow.
My emphasis would be on the way that, say, if you've got 10 million people watching a program like Minder, for mental purposes, you've really got 10 million programs.
It's like fighting, and I think it's just great.
I don't really mind the fights. They don't have to be there.
Just like the violence and that. It's just good.
I think they're very good, but you always know that it doesn't seem that it could happen, but they play it very well.
The only bit I don't like about it is the women. I think they get used a bit, the sex objects. And that's about the only dislike I have about it, really.
It has a twist at the end, or it's got George Cole, who I think is very good, playing up Arthur. And I think it's the humour side of it is why I watch it.
It was completely Leon Griffiths' idea. He approached me. We made a film together at Warner Brothers. We, in fact, had a minder on the film who was appalling. I don't think he was the basis of the whole idea, but Leon had always liked the idea of making a television series around a minder, but really more about two people who are outside of the mainstream of society. And he came to me with the idea. We discussed it at great length. And if I showed you the original treatment, you'd see that all the most popular elements of Minder were there right at the beginning.
No, I think it was in a pub. A character who is a minder, who, although he wasn't the kind of Terry, he was a rather tougher sort of bloke. But I just knew there was something there. There was a good story there.
The most important single ingredient in any successful drama, and particularly a drama series which goes on week after week, lies in the nature, the quality, the humanity, if you like, of the leading characters.
What's up? Have you gone mad or something?
Nah, he's temperamental. Like with Terry, you're dealing with an artist.
What is he then, Minder or Shirley Bassey?
Hey, Terry! Yeah, see you, Norman.
Thanks, Arthur. You've done me a right favour.
Yeah, fine.
All right.
Yeah, right. What's all that about?
Just don't ever get me another job like that.
You have a go at you?
He's a vacuum cleaner assembly worker at Park Royal. What's he going to do? Hit me over the head with a suction-hose attachment?
Hang on. There you are. Double score, all right?
How much he give you?
Well, he didn't give me that lot, did he? I've always got a nice wad on me, haven't I? Yeah. What's the matter with you? Geezer buys a car, doesn't pay for it, he loses a car. That's reasonable, isn't it?
They've been on strike.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? Doing the economy in and all.
It was official.
Even better. Strike pay, bit of social security. What's he got now? Mercedes?
I don't know. Just don't get me any more jobs like that. Or down the Lonsdale.
What's wrong with that place? A nice boozer.
Oh, nice, yeah. 3 fights last week.
They were having a go at the group, weren't they? That's not nice, is it?
Did you hear that, group? Listen, there's a mate of mine who's just finishing a 10 on the moor for doing less damage than their drummer. No, I'm not kidding you, Arthur. I'm thinking of packing it all in.
I like Arthur. I think he's very funny. He's always got some joke behind him, and he never tells Arthur. I mean, what's his name? Terry, isn't it? He never tells Terry, exactly what's happening, and he always tells him he's got, I'll give you £100, and he's getting 600 from the guy he's getting the money from. And at the end, there's always a scene where he's in trouble. I mean, I've seen loads of them. He's got a snake running over his shoe. He falls in a patch of cow dung or something like that. I think he's a very funny guy.
I think that's really what makes people go back week after week to watch it, because on the whole the plots don't differ so much. But both Arthur and Terry are very interesting characters, and it's really nice to watch them.
It's a show that's made deliberately to hopefully appeal to the majority of the people. We've tried to judiciously avoid extreme violence, to avoid sort of any sort of heavy sexual overtones. We think it's a kind of a good family show. It's hard to imagine that you couldn't put the Minder on at any time slot without worrying about offending anybody. I think we've achieved that, generally speaking.
Shows you the rough end. We've got to be tough to survive. So the series just plays on the way people have got to live. With all the fights and things, you can sort of imagine them being around the rough end.
Minder shows a part of London life which we don't see too much of on television, especially if you don't live in that area of London. And it's an interesting way of seeing things.
I think it does put over a bad picture, but as it's a funny programme, you don't really take it as that, because it's not like that really, and it is only a certain part of London that is like that.
Mostly people in small towns who don't really live in a big city, who don't really know the way we live properly. They just see it off the television and they just think that's how we live. Everybody goes around fighting. Somebody like Arthur or Terry, that's the way we are. It's totally different.
We've got fairly strong ideas about democracy and mixed societies and the rest of it. And if we can inject, without boring people or without lecturing to people, if we can get into an episode some of the things that we believe to be right about our country and about the way people should behave for each other, at the same time make it amusing and funny and exciting, then we're delighted to have that double benefit. An added bonus to us if we can do that. If kids, if two kids come out of school feeling happy towards each other in spite of being different colours because they've seen something on television, then we feel we've made a very important contribution.
Can I help you?
Yeah, is Mr. Mukherjee about?
What are you? Traveller?
Traveller? Yeah, Christmas novelties. Look, could you tell him Terry's here? Friend of Arthur Daly's.
Oh, you've come to look after us, haven't you? Come to protect us?
Oh, I don't know yet. Who are you?
His daughter, Indira. One of them sloppy Indian names.
Well, it's better than Sabu.
Yeah, do you think they'll come back again?
I don't even know who they are.
Well, one of them's a real... This is Terry, Mr. Daly's friend.
Hello.
You go to your room.
Ta-ra, Terry.
Yeah, ta-ra.
What was she saying to you?
No, nothing, we were just chatting.
Ah, but you must not talk with her. She is already spoken for. She has promised to be married.
I wasn't proposing, we just said hello.
Oh, yes, I know what hello means with you fellows.
I think that women come out of Minder quite well. I agree with Johnny and feel very strongly that, in fact, the priority is to put more in terms of mirroring our society into drama that is shown on television. And that means more black faces and Asian faces, and obviously more women. And women not necessarily doing the kind of jobs that people normally associate them with.
We use about 3 or 4 writers who have got the same kind of ideas. Obviously they contribute to the series, but they can't change the 2 characters because they are the stable key of the whole series.
I've always dealt with writers, and I know a lot of them and love them madly, but they are nearly all hypochondriacs. They live alone. They worry about getting cancer of various parts, which they all usually have. They sit alone, and they know that they're never going to crack it. They eat a lot of junk food, so they have weight problems. They identify with Arthur. and they favour Arthur a lot, particularly the older writers. And they see Terry as someone they don't really know. He's young, he's fit, and he gets the birds. So they'd rather write about Arthur, who's the dreamer, who might one day pull it off. So he's the one they tend to favour.
If you write something, you have a view, obviously. I don't want to say that it's a comment on life, but I suppose you could say that Arthur is the unacceptable face of capitalism, and Terry is the last hero, the only honest man in London.
No, I'm on my way now. Ta-ra.
How many of them? I don't know. I only saw the one. You dive in and take him unawares. It's down there.
What'll you be doing?
Well, I'll be on the corner having a drink.
They're not even open yet.
Well, I'll be having a cup of tea on the corner. I mean, you want someone outside as lookout, don't you? Look, down there, over the wall, round the back, in the basement. All right?
Thanks a bunch, Arthur.
Well, nothing really.
In general, what we find is that the later teens tend to watch more news and documentary style programs, much more so than when they were in their younger teens. And they also say that they have a greater interest in those kinds of programs when we ask them straight out. At the same time, there is tendency to like less fiction programs of many different kinds. Although with a program such as Minder that we've been talking about, that is so popular generally that tends not to suffer as the teenage audience grows older.
Well, of course, audience research figures are absolutely critical to the whole organization of deciding where to put your commercial, because you need to know what size and profile of the audience is. Of course, you only know that after the event, and so you've got to have something of a crystal ball. But in determining the size of the audience, of course, you've not only got to take into account the nature of the program and its appeals, but you've also got to take into account the time of day. People arrive home at different times of day. You've got to take into account what's on the other channels. ITV is not sitting alone. And, of course, the audience to programs is very strongly determined by what's on the other channels.
First of all, we attach a gadget to the set, which we call a meter. You can see one here. That monitors the status of the set. It tells us when the set is switched on and to which channel it's tuned. What it doesn't tell us is which people within the home are actually sitting in front of the set and viewing. And the current system makes use of a paper diary. The diary is a fairly simple sheet of paper which allows our panel members to record their own individual viewing. If I'm viewing television, let's say from 7:30 to 8 on a Monday evening, which is when Coronation Street is being transmitted, all I simply need to do is to put a line across those 2 quarter-hour periods. AGB has developed for Barb 2 possible future systems for collecting not the set viewing information, but the individual's viewing information on a daily basis. The first of these is to use a push-button system. That viewing period is then stored in the meter and is capable of overnight retrieval. The second technique that we have developed is known as the electronic diary. It operates in the same way as the paper diary does, but by using a light pen and a diary grid on the top of the meter, again, the viewing information for me or other people in the home can be recorded on the meter and retrieved through the telephone lines overnight.
Breaking and entering? There's something wrong with your lock. There was nearly something wrong with your nose. Catches up. Listen, what are you doing with the key to my flat? Your flat? Who obtained this desirable bachelor residence for you? I pay key money, I'm entitled to have a key. Oh, certainly. Well, I'm getting that lock changed tomorrow. Cop hold of that for us.
What is it?
The fridge, old son. The latest in Italian-manufactured mini-fridges. I've got a fridge. I have a think of all the people who haven't. Think of the countless millions who cannot make a decent Bacardi and Coke for want of a few ice cubes. Oh, well, you better put a woolly on. I've got another 19 of those outside in a van. Arthur, this ain't a bleeding warehouse. No, temporary storage.
Arthur's always got something he wants. He's got loading into his warehouse. He's got fridges, he's got goldfish he wants to sell, he's got loading, he's got wine. And every time it fails, and he always loses out. It amazes me how the next programme he's got money.
Every morning after we've transmitted, I phone the duty office and find out what the calls were like. And if a viewer does actually bother to write in, it's so exciting because you're actually dealing with a member of the public who has taken the trouble to write in and say, Loveminder, when is there going to be another one, or I spotted such and such. I find I almost overreact to letters.
You have to write what you want to write, and then you hope that the audience will like it. In fact, I think if you try to write for an audience, that would be a disaster.
A good writer or program maker is, in a sense, an intuitive market researcher. You know what's going to turn your audience on or off. Well, in fact, that's not really true. You don't know, but you have a feel.
Hello, London Airport? I wish to speak to the immigration department. Yes. The people who handle illegal entry.
Immigration.
Good morning. I wish to report an illegal entry into this country.
Who's speaking, sir?
Who's speaking? Well, this is Mr. Chaudhry, a very well-respected citizen of this country for many years. Have been serving loyally the Crown for many years as a member of the Bengal Lancers, with a fine commanding officer who is still living in East Moseley. Now, I cannot abide these illegal immigrant people, you know, coming here for social security and things like that.
Look, sir, what exactly is the problem?
Flight AI-129.
Yes.
Now, I happen to know that there is a person on this flight with illegal documents. Now, have you got a pencil ready?
Yes.
What? Yes. The family name is Aslam. Aslam. A-S-L-A-M. Now, this fellow is a scoundrel. You know? Probably smuggling things as well.
Yes, I've got that, sir. Aslam.
Yes.
Now, if you would just give me a few particulars about yourself.
Oh, thank you. Goodbye.
Well, I think the whole point of the series is it's a language show. There's not a lot of action in Minder, and sometimes the stories are a bit thin. That's largely because I'm not very good at plot.
The most available of 60-minute slots for drama is by and large at 9 p.m. There is also, at 9 p.m., a convention and a very wise one in my opinion, which is called the Watershed. And it reflects a change in general family programming before 9 until to more adult programming after 9 o'clock. And it's very interesting how in British television, and without certification of programs, which I would abhor, there is an understanding between the broadcaster and the public about the meaning of that 9 p.m. Watershed.
Yes, I mean, we do see it as adult drama, and it does free us a lot, although we don't really have to take... There is very little violence in it. That's a deliberate policy. We don't want guns and car chases and heavy police or baddies. So I would have thought there is very little in Minder that parents should actually worry about in terms of their children's watching.
Well, I've got a 12-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son, and unquestionably, there's no doubt in my mind that it's nothing that I would worry about them seeing at all. When I think of some of the things they watch, you know, my conscience is remarkably clear.
The whole series is built up. I mean, there's tension, and if the fight wasn't there, I think it breaks the tension, the fight does. But I don't know, some of them are a bit violent.
Well, I always look forward to it in every Minder, and they're done very well. They're never too violent, but they're not, you know, pushovers, you shove him here, shove him there. There's usually a funny side to them, but some there aren't, like in the Bengal Tiger, as you said, they're throwing each other, and they make up at the end.
If you want any more, well, you're going to have to take it out of this, aren't you?
It's all done.
What for?
£15 a week, that lamb. I've got to go, Cherry. I've had enough. So my pal.
I think they're quite enjoyable. There's no violence, or there's no broken bottles or anything going flying around. It's always just a slight trickle of blood coming out the lips at the end of the fight. That's all there is.
I think on the whole I don't really like to see violence of any kind. I mean, I don't enjoy it. But I think the whole plot is only building up to the fight. And so at the beginning of the programme, you're looking around at all the various people that Terry meets, and you think, well, which one of these is he going to fight with this week? And I think probably it needs to